Welcome back to day 2 of NAB New York 2025, or as we're calling it around the booth, NAB Light. So we have a lot of interviews lined up today, and the interview we have right now is with Jonathan Leith from Grass Valley. Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks.
So I'm going to ask something that you may have been asked before. What are you showing at the booth? What are you showing at NAB today?
Yeah, it's a broad answer to that question. We're bringing in the full suite. As people may be aware, we've had obviously still doing all our traditional hardware products that we're well known for. We are continuing with our move to software platforms, or alongside the hardware. So that's really showcasing what we can do with AMP, our platform. And that's the full suite. That's everything from all the ingest all the way through live production, asset management, play out, everything. So I think that's where we wanted to be able to show a good spread of the product offerings. Obviously, it's quite difficult to get all that into a smaller footprint than we have in Vegas, for example. But we've got a good range of pretty much every application that people should want to see.
So I was lucky enough a couple months ago to see a worldwide distribution on the AMP platform, right? Feeds coming in from different countries, things being switched by different people in different countries. But I still think it's relatively new to a lot of people out in the market. Can you kind of describe what the AMP platform is?
Yeah, and effectively what we wanted to do was to decouple the reliance between where users, process, and the process hardware were based. So it's a platform with 300 applications for everything you could want to do down the media production chain. But it solves a lot of the new problems that people are wanting to coming across. So where we want to be able to do, if we call it even traditional REMI, if we can use that phrase now, I think it's been a few years, we can take that one step further to really allow people to be anywhere and synchronous with what they're doing, so they can have colleagues all working from home in a control room. It's very good for where you want to have a smaller footprint on the location side of things, but you want a larger team expanded. So it's it's a different way of thinking about things. I think it's finding great traction. That on the booth we are showing the types of customers, and I think a lot of people would be surprised at the premier level that a lot of the content that's going through AMP. So so I think. We've done a good job there. We're now starting to look at how we apply that to other markets. So we've cut our teeth with it in broadcast and major tier 1 broadcast, and now we're applying that to how its granularity is useful elsewhere.
What I want to make sure we don't gloss over is a lot of time when you deal with disparate products during production, it's who's going to build the glue for things to talk to one another. And what I love about the AMP product is that there's actually I hate to call it marketplace, but there's actually a marketplace where you can say, well, I want this, and it just works, and then you just pay for whatever that node is. So it becomes, I don't want to say transactional, but it allows you to scale in ways that would take weeks or even months to have coded or
Absolutely,
to contract someone to do that.
Yeah, and I think because we started with the platform first, let's start with how we get everything to connect. And then, as you say, we have the marketplace and the app store. So we have our app store, that's how it's called, for all of the 300 applications that Grass Valley have developed. But on top of that, we also have the partner applications. So whether that's something that is built and deployed through the App Store, or we have, I think we're approaching 100 partners now. Wow. We are trying to truly, be an agnostic platform. Even some of them are, slightly competitive, or they're nuanced. So it's really good for if somebody needs to just fix a certain problem. We've got an open API, open SDKs for people to come in and develop things that sit on the platform next to the Grass Valley applications. And to that point, it's very good at fixing those can I just problems. So we baseline this. There's a lot of time going into you still designing in a similar way in terms of function. What's the function? How do we deliver that? But when somebody says I just need an extra, it's very useful, and that's a really good starting point for a lot of customers where there is some processing that can be some things, and you don't have to be, it doesn't have to be a ground up installation that is based on AMP. We can use it to supplement to that's extra multi-viewers one day and it's standards conversion the next. And I think, to your point, that's where it's really exciting to be able to be very dynamic for what people need.
You mentioned that if folks stop by your booth here at NAB 2025 New York, that they would see, they'd be surprised at the different use cases you have. And I think that goes to something we talked about earlier, which was the convergence of industries.
Yes, indeed. I think
right?
Convergence, I think, is becoming only second to AI.
I think there's a couple products here just called convergence on the show floor.
So just, if you want to play buzzword bingo, AI's top, and then I think convergence.
2110.
21, yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be in there.
Indeed. At least we've defined it rather than it used to just be IP. But no, I think that's that's something we're really seeing a lot of, and there's even some of the peripheral events that have been happening in New York this week outside of the show have been excellent for focusing on. I think we're all starting to see this piece of, yes, we still know what broadcast is, we push this through, but you can't ignore the content that's being created, the volume of hours that has been created everywhere else in the world that's not true traditional broadcast. So I think my role is, I'm product director for enterprise media, so my role is helping us be more a better placed and more attractive to things that are not just that are not broadcast. So that's where we're focusing now to show the tools going over the last 55 years, I think it is. People are used to using the brand, and organically it's been used elsewhere. What we're now wanting to do is to listen, to react, and respect the differences that the other industries. So it's different in corporate, it's different in finance, it's different in medical, to what people need the tools to be. And we're very lucky because both in the hardware, but more so in AMP, it's very easy to adapt that and package it and get that front end to be different and be more nuanced to, we like to work this way. We had to work this way before because that's how the broadcast worked. Now we can tailor that last 20% to be much more on the point to how people in other industries like to work. So showing some of that on the booth as well.
So this is a little, I don't want to say off script because this isn't scripted, but something that I hadn't planned on asking, but I did want to bring it up, is that one of the demos I saw several months ago, everything was being switched in the cloud. Everything. All the feeds were going to the camera, all the switch was done on the camera, or was done in the cloud. So are you seeing a move to everything being cloud-based, or are you seeing folks doing it on-prem, but then just accessing data feeds or control elsewhere in the world?
Yes. And I think that's one of the big things. I mean, the early days with AMP, a lot of it was cloud. That's where the world was. We launched 2020, so that's where a lot of the world was working. One of the big things that we have is, AMP's not a cloud product. It's not. AMP is a software-defined product, and we don't care where it's processed. So we have the full spectrum of possible combinations for where the users are, what the software is doing, and where the software is being processed. So absolutely, we can be. It's orchestrated from our cloud platform. We do have local, fully on-premise solutions, but primarily it's orchestrated under the GV. That's how you access it. But the data plane, where we process it, where we store the media, can be anywhere. So we do have fully on-premise solutions. We do have full cloud, and I think that's very useful for certain applications. But we actually see a lot of hybrid. We see a lot of baseline. We will do some hardware investment we can commit to. We know what the 80% is of what we do week in, week out. And then it's very useful to be able to do the burst, to be able to bring that up and say, well, I just need another 10 recorders. All right. You look at a sports type event where you've got 3 months and it's going to go crazy, but the rest of the year it's going to be calmed down, or you can do pop-up channels to cover those events. And likewise in the other markets, people know what they do 1,000 of one thing all year, and once a month they do a bigger event. Building a facility for the 1,000 and bursting for the big event makes more sense than having that lack of efficiency that you would have by building for the biggest thing you could ever imagine doing. Right. So I think there's a real mix of opportunity there.
I think people want to pit one paradigm against another, right? On-prem versus cloud, Mac versus PC, and I think we all know it's hybrid. It isn't one or the other.
Exactly, and I think one of the big points that we can really push is it's a single technology stack to do everything you need to do. So you're not having to create if you've got a smaller event, you're not using one stack for that, then completely different set of logins, hosting, etc. for the mediums, and then again for the large events. So it is. Sometimes it's we spend steering through this. My background is systems integration. and I worked with AMP before I joined Grass Valley, and I think a lot of the conversations that I was having was different. It was about how you have to talk about utilization in a way that in a traditional hardware model, you just needed to know how long you were going to depreciate the equipment for,
right.
what is the biggest. Whereas now what we do is we can talk a lot more to the utilization cycles, and that allows us to be much more flexible with the billing, for example. So there are some differences with it, but its flexibility is unparalleled.
As the definition of what a broadcaster is tends to get more gray and frayed at the end, so to
Yes.
speak. A lot of the features that have built into AMP and Grass Valley in general kind of play to that larger definition of broadcaster. Are there any other features or steps that Grass Valley is taking to embrace or welcome these new folks into the broadcast industry?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is primarily my role. Is I am here really to
nurture people and rock them to sleep at night.
whatever people need. I think it's really one of my key objectives is to make sure that it's not about saying we've built this, go use it. What we really want to be doing is kind of a respect to the way that people work that is different from traditional broadcast, and react to that. So that's a big piece of how we're trying to do that, and that is leading into the tools. Mm-hmm. So we're kind of looking for what's the solution level, what's the use case that people want to do, what are the problems that people are facing because they're having to work around some of the restrictions that not just us but broadcast equipment in general has had traditionally, and then how can we adapt to that into the way we package things, and then those packages are steering how we change the product. So tools there, more tools coming. Because I promised my boss that's what we're going to do. But yeah, so I think that's where we're looking at it now. So there are a few things that are coming through, certainly in terms of simplification of UI. We're already showing that. We've done that with our event producer product and our sports producer, so that's simplification for traditional sports production as well. But event production is very much how do we take the power of a big software switcher that we've done with Maverick, but present it to a single operator or two operators, with a simplification, and then we can take that a level further because everything's API. So we're now doing some very simple examples of what people can do for control customization, so that you don't necessarily have a fully trained operator. Going back to you do something 1,000 times a year in an offset of a small event space. It can be very much, I want the camera to point at that person and turn that microphone on. We don't want that to look like a switcher. Right. So we can do that because of the granularity and the way the control's built. So we're showing some of that on the booth as well.
Outstanding. Thank you so much for your time joining us today.
Thank you very much.
And to everyone watching out there, thanks for tuning into the stream. We're doing more live streams later on today. If you're looking into Grass Valley tech or tech for production, post-production, AV, or broadcast, you know who to come to. And you know what? Some of the consulting is free. First meeting is free. So reach out to us online, and we look forward to seeing you on the next stream.